Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank my colleague and Chairman Bob Goodlatte. The Chairman has just been a great supporter of working toward finding solutions. And I think that's what we're here for today, is finding solutions. And I want to thank the Chairman for his work in this, for taking us and moving it forward on a lot of different fronts. But also, as we look forward here, Mr. Speaker, there's some things that I want to just sort of clear up. And there's some people that I want to thank. Hakeem Jeffries and I couldn't ask for a better partner to work through the intricacies of big solutions and big problems. These are big problems, and Hakeem and I have said, let's take a look and see what we can fix. What is going to be said today is many things of, I like this legislation, I like parts of this legislation, I like the legislation, but it doesn't go far enough. If it just did a little more, as if this place produced perfect results every time, that we just want to wait. But I also would ask those who choose to vote no today. My question is this: is it okay to make progress on many other things, but on this one, say no? Say no to a family who has a family member in prison who could get treatment and get help and get them back out so that when they come home, which over 90% of all prisoners in this country do, they come home. Is it okay to say no to those folks and say, no, we're not going to provide that for your family member. We're not going to provide extra treatment so that they can get help with addiction or work problems or anger management or skills deficits or education deficits. No, it's not. Is it okay today to vote no and say, you know, I like a lot of this bill, but I want to continue to shackle women as they have babies? It's a pretty simple understanding. I get it. I want to see sentencing reform too. I'm on record as saying I do. I'm on record as continuing past this to actually do that. Hakeem and I have talked about this more than we would ever imagine we would. But Congressman Jeffries is a great partner in this effort. This bill is real and meaningful reform. Senator Corner and Senator Whitehouse across the way in the Senate have taken steps to actually have introduced the same bill and are working to do this. The President has said this is something that can be signed. In fact, the President, Mr. Speaker, last week said America is a nation that believes in second chances. The First Steps Act gives those second chances. It gives us hope. It gives us an ability to look at people, as I've said on this issue many times, as a money and moral issue. And in states like Georgia and Kentucky and Oklahoma and Texas and New York and California, these issues have been discussed and evidence-based approaches have worked. We've seen it, Mr. Speaker, work in our home state of Georgia. We've seen evidence-based approach be the way that you need to go, and this bill provides the protection and it also provides the incentive for this to work. Now, there have been many discussions on why we shouldn't, and many people in the recent days coming forward. I think it is pretty amazing to me, though, and I'm just going to have to be honest here, for the former Attorney General to come out and say this is not enough and say that the current Department of Justice could do some of this, then I just have one question for the former Attorney General. Where were you when you held the office? Why didn't you do something then? If it was within your grasp, why did you turn a deaf ear to the cries of families who are in need? Why did you decide not to do something and now weigh in on something that Congressman Jeffries and many others have put their heart and lives into and weigh in and say it's not enough? Look into those families, Mr. Former Attorney General, and tell them it's not enough. Easy to write an op-ed. It must be a lot harder to do it when you have the job. So as we look forward here, this is a positive piece of legislation. This is something that we can look forward to in doing, that when you have a chance to give those prisoners the opportunity to cut the very things down in their life that cause them to get there to start with. When we begin to look at the reasons they are there, and they're multiple, then we are taking a first step toward solutions, a first step toward hope, a first step toward making a difference so that we can then see if we can take this first step, then maybe we can get some of our colleagues to take that next step into sentencing reform and other areas that we've already worked on, that the chairman has worked on and advocated, and others across in the Senate have advocated for. But if we choose not to do that today, then you're saying no to the future. Congressman Jeffries and I believe yes to the future. I know that when we have worked on this, it is about what we can accomplish and how we can accomplish it in a way that is meaningful to others. When we look at this, though, I also find it rather interesting, Mr. Speaker, the groups that have come together here. As we went around talking about this, we have went to so many different groups from the left and the right that say this is a great first step. The Justice Action Network, the American Conservative Union, Freedom Works, FAM, Prison Fellowship, Faith and Freedom Coalition, Cut 50, the Heritage Action, and many, many more, both on the left and the right, that have said, the Koch Foundation, others who have said this is good. This is something we can move on. This provides that hope that we are searching for. To the bill's detractors, I respect your opinion. To the bill's detractors, I just say, why not? And if why not here? And if why not and why you don't want to here, when? Is it ever good enough? Can we ever get to a point? I think one of the things, Mr. Speaker, that we often deal with here is the art of the possible. Today is about the art of the possible. We have an administration who says we'll sign the bill. Jared Kushner has been such an advocate for this and has said and worked with the administration to say we will put forth the effort to make this work. We have partners in the Senate who say we want to work and do even more. I'm glad of that. And I have a partner here and many who have come alongside of us and have spoke that say let's do something today. Today is about action. Today is about being a part of something bigger than ourselves. This is a day when we can come to the floor of this house and be proud of why we are here. A bill, so many times, we come down and we look at this bill and we see paper and we see words on a paper, but I tell you what I see, Mr. Speaker, I see the faces of the families behind these words. I see the faces of the families behind these words that it is actually going to help. So when you look at this vote and you look at this bill, my question is look beyond the pieces of paper, look beyond the ink, and look to the families that will be helped. When you cast that yes vote, you are saying, I want to do something, and I'm not afraid to wait on something I might want, but know that I can take a step further now. It's very simple. Vote yes to move it along, or vote no and say no to those in need. I can agree and disagree about a lot of parts, but this is about the people behind the bill. Before I go, Mr. Speaker, though, in addition to the committee and the committee staff that have been so great and the chairman working on, a few weeks ago I had the chance to talk about a staff member of mine as a steel magnolia. But today, John Farrell from my staff, a New York native who works for a Georgia member, has earned from me on this the highest praise. He is now, as you will see in all the groups that have worked on it, he's a bulldog. He has worked this over and over, and he's worked it to find solutions, and for that I am thankful, and for that I am proud. Mr. Speaker, this is a good bill. You can come up with every reason you want to vote no, and that's okay, I guess, but remember, there are families watching today. There's incarcerated people watching today. And my question is will you vote for them, or will you vote to hold up something that may or may not happen? With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back.